welcome to LeoCode subscription with async pipe in Angular. On this guide, we are going to talk about sending HTTP requests to backend and load the response data inside our HTML. So basically, we subscribe a service inside our TypeScript. Then we pass response data to a variable and to use inside our HTML. By the way, we can manage the response data before rendering inside of HTML. Also, there is a big but here that we need to unsubscribe it by ng destroy lifecycle hook. To unsubscribe it, I need to define subscriptions as subscription from RxJS library. And then I will have my const variable as service subscription that equals to this.service.subscribe. Now here I'm gonna have this.subscriptions.add my service subscription, and inside of my ng destroy I'm gonna call this.subscriptions.unsubscribe. This was the basic way that we talked about it. Now I'm gonna subscribe the service inside of HTML. That means I don't need to unsubscribe it by ng destroy lifecycle. So I delete all the stuff that I have written. Now let's get into async pipe subscription. So first of all, I need to create my data model. Now I create a directory and I call it models. Now I create a TypeScript file and I call it posts.model.ts. Now I'm gonna have export default interface post model. Now here we have types of my model that I'm going to define. As you can see, I have title and body, and both are string. So I just define title as string and also body as string 2. Sorry about that. And also ID as number. Alright. Now next step, I'm gonna have my service. So I create a directory and I call it services. And then I'm gonna create the service file and I call it posts. As you can see, the file is generated, the service is generated, and inside of my service I'm gonna have my endpoint URL. So private read-only endpoint that equals the API URL that I'm gonna use, and I declared in environment file. So I need to import the environment file and environment.api URL. As long as I use /posts API, as you can see here, /API, I need to add /post at the end of the API URL. Now I need to have my get posts as observable, and the data model of the observable is posts model. And before sending any HTTP requests, I need to define my HTTP client. So that means private HTTP as HTTP client. And inside of the get posts, I'm gonna use the HTTP. So that means I'm gonna return this.http .get, because the API method is get. So the type model of the get is posts model, and I'm gonna pass URL. So that means this.endpoint, and that's all. So we are done here, and we need to jump into app.component to add some stuff. First of all, I need to define an observable, so that means a post dollar as observable, and data model of the observable is post model again. So inside of the ng init, I'm gonna have my this dot post dollar equals to this dot post service. So I need to define the post service. So in constructor, I call in private post service with a small p as post service. And then here we are going to have this dot post service dot get posts. Alright, we are done here. We need to jump into app.html, and here we have ULLI. So on UL, I'm gonna have ng if that equals to my post dollar observable, and I'm gonna add pipe and async here, and the async is the point that means the async subscribe the HTTP request. So in network tab, let me refresh. As you can see, the HTTP request has been sent, and in response I have gotten the data. Alright, now next step, I'm gonna load the title and body inside my UI, inside my LI. Alright, let's go back, and I'm gonna have as posts, because the data that I get with async, I'm gonna declare it as posts. And on LI, I'm gonna have ng4 let post of posts. So instead of the title, I'm gonna have post.title, and also instead of the body, I'm gonna have post.body. Alright, as you can see, it works perfectly. Alright, next step, we are going to add loading. So I'm gonna have ng-template as loading, and inside the loading ng template, I'm gonna have p that it's just written loading or something. You can add a spinner or something like that, right? So here I'm gonna add semicolon else loading. So that means if I don't get any data, and you can see the result as expected. Alright, if our HTTP request gets any error, what will happen? So let's change the API URL, and as you can see, it just shows the loading. So there is a problem. And let's check the network tab, and let me refresh, and here it shows an error, and it says 404 status code. So we are going to handle this one. Alright, inside our app.component, I'm gonna add public error equals null, and after my .get posts, I'm gonna add pipe catch error that passes error. Alright, inside of the catch error, I'm gonna set this .error equals the error I get, and also it's gonna return through error the error that we get. Alright, and also I'm gonna import the catch error from ArcGIS. Okay. So now inside our app.html, I'm gonna cut the ng template loading, and add another ng template, and I define it as loading or error. And inside of the ng template, I'm gonna paste the loading, and also I'm gonna add ng-container, and also ng if equals error semicolon else loading. So that means if the error has something, it's gonna the ng container gonna be shown. Otherwise, the loading. And also, I need to change the else here, the loading to loading or error, and write something. For example, a status code or something inside my ng container, like error.status and error.status text, status text. Yeah. Okay. So we are done, and as you can see, I got the 404, and that means not found. And also, I can change the text inside of the ng container. For example, something went wrong or something like that. Something went wrong. Okay. So it works perfectly. And I need to change back the API URL, and that's it. We're done.